Hey everyone, it's David Barnett. And have you ever thought of maybe owning a new franchise? Well, welcome. We're going to be talking about that today. And once again, it's David Barnett from davidcbarnett.com, the blog site, YouTube channel, iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play podcast, where I talk about buying, selling, financing, and managing small and medium-sized businesses. Today I have as a guest Giuseppe Grammatico. Did I get that one right?
Yep, you got it. Not bad.
Awesome.
Not bad.
Giuseppe's
It's a hard one.
Giuseppe's in New Jersey and has been in the franchise game for a long time, and has been a podcast listener of mine for a long time. And I don't know, Giuseppe, I think maybe you feel I've been bashing on franchises a little bit lately on my show, but that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, because you're in this industry. And the first time I met you, one of the things that came up is you talked about how one of your traditional customer groups has been people wanting to leave the corporate environment and looking for something to do on their own. And you help them find the right franchise that could fit for them. And we're now in an environment where with COVID and all the effects it's had on the economy, that people are being displaced from their jobs, and the economy faces a lot of uncertainty in a lot of different categories. And so I thought it might be interesting to have you on the show to talk about some of the opportunities maybe that exist with franchises, and how to make sure that you can try to ensure that you fit the right people with the right opportunity. Because in my mind, if you enroll in a franchise opportunity, there's two different things at play. Is the person the right fit for operating within the system? And then secondly, is there really a market there for that business, and will the business be able to find customers, et cetera? So why don't we start off by you giving us a little bit of your background, because you've been in this field for a very long time.
Yes, I've been going back to 2006, 2007. So I got my fighting shirt on today, as I jokingly say. I had to change my shirt because it was blending into my background. So I always thought that was funny. But yeah, we had a great conversation. I remember prior to you being on my show, we talked about, are you for or against franchising? Let's have that conversation. There's a little confusion. And it was great because we're 100%. I thought we were on kind of, fighting it out as to what's better, what's not, and we're 100% on the same page. So that's great. So been in franchising, have been on the franchisor and franchisee side. So I've seen both ends. As a master franchisor, I recruited franchisees. As a franchisee, I reported directly to a franchise company. So I have seen quite a bit. And to your point, a lot of advantages to owning a franchise, but it's definitely not the right fit for everyone. So to be very clear to the people that say, is franchising better? It's better based off. It could be better based off of what you're looking for. That's kind of the secret sauce. And I always take it a step back. So we go back when people are looking at franchising. I always say, let's take a step back and figure out, is business ownership right for you? Are you entrepreneur material? I mean, let's be honest, right? Whether it's a franchise or not, a franchise is not an industry. Franchising is a proven business model. That, simply put, that's what franchising is. So you need to figure out, number one, are you business material? Do you really want to own a business? Why do you want to own a business? In my opinion, many people don't want to own a business. They need to own a business so they can really take control of their time and financial freedom. I mean, that's what it really comes down to. So there's only 24 hours in that day. So how do we make the most of it and do what we want during that time? So once we figure out, okay, business ownership is the right fit, we figure out, okay, you have two paths. You have, we do path one is traditional, where you start the business from scratch. Obviously, there's pros and cons to that, where you decide you develop the product or service and the systems that back that business. That takes a lot of time. And the one major negative on that path, from what I've seen, is that many people never actually start the business because they never get past a product or service. They think about it so long, 20, 30 years go by, they're stuck in their job. They never actually start that business. And then you have franchising, where you have that proven business model. To reiterate, it's not always the right fit for everyone, but it gives you that, what we call the unfair advantage, as we talk about in our presentations and as well as our book. And you literally could sign that franchise agreement, go into training for maybe a week or two, depending on the brand. And while you're training, corporate is doing marketing and getting customers and clients for you. So you hit the ground running, you get out of training, you set up shop, whether it's a service-based, home-based business, and you already have customers contacting you, which is a major advantage. But once again, not the right fit for people that want to develop everything and don't want to follow a franchise system.
Well, let's talk about needing to get into business. Have you had a lot of people come to you looking for a franchise opportunity who had lost their income or because of other things happening in their life, they needed to have more flexibility? Is that a big part of the who you've seen come along?
Yes, you have a lot of people that, a lot of people have always thought about it. I can't tell you how many people I talk to on a daily basis. They've thought about it. They're uncertain. They think it's too risky, but they just kind of want to talk it out. And that's part of what we do is we talk about the fear. What are your fears? What are your concerns? And we talk it out. And the only way to get over that is education, talking it out. What is the true risk? What is the risk of owning a business? What is the risk of being an employee? There's a lot of risk in being an employee as well that people don't, that don't realize. But, we kind of figure out, what is, so the people giving me a call, they've been laid off, they've been furloughed. So they need that business because they want to take control and not have to wait for that employer to contact them back and say, okay, we may bring you back on in January, or you may or may not have a job, or your pay is going to be now reduced because of the pandemic, and a lot of companies have been affected. So that need, that want is more of an interest. That need is, I need to do something now. In my case, so to give a perfect example, my need was starting a family, just recently married, bought a house, and I knew traveling 2.5 hours each way to New York City, I would never see my kids. Yeah. So made the switch. The same year my son was born, November of 2007. So made that switch a year before he was born. And not saying the first year was a lot of work, a lot more hours. Just because it's a franchise doesn't mean you're going to be working just 9 to 5. So I did work a lot of hours, but got to control my, overall time, flexibility. And I think today I've never missed a soccer game or my daughter's, Girl Scout meetings or things like that.
When you said that you had worked as a master franchisor, what type of business, what type of franchise was that?
We were in building maintenance and cleaning. So I got into that business from Wall Street because I love the recession resistance of the business. Okay.
And, a lot of the times we were talking about the fit here between the investor entrepreneur and the franchise. A lot of employers will use different tests to measure certain psychological profiles of a person to see if they're a good fit. Do you ever use that kind of tool when assessing someone to see if they're the right kind of fit for a franchise?
We have used tools in the past, and the name of the company escapes me right now. It'll come to me hopefully later on. We have used tools in the past. I found out that some people just don't take the tool. You send it to them, it's not cheap, and they just never spend the time. And if you don't spend that time, then maybe you shouldn't own a business if you can't invest a half hour or whatever amount of time it takes. So I incorporate the same or similar questions into our first call, which is we typically do a 20, 30-minute right fit call just to make sure we're a good match. Obviously, there has to be good chemistry. It has to make sense. And if we're a good match, and I think business ownership may be the right fit, we go on to a consultation call where we dig a little bit deeper. But I ask a lot of questions, and I don't ask very basic questions where sometimes I call it, you fall into the rabbit hole online where you type in, I'm interested in restaurants, and then they start asking a million questions about restaurant franchises you may want to own. I ask you difficult questions like, why do you want to own a restaurant? And typically it's people say, well, everyone has to eat, and I see a line out the door. And I talk about break evens, and we talk about the constant turnover and things like that. And we find out that type of business truly doesn't match what they really want.
And because right now in your business, you're matching people with franchise opportunities. How many different franchise brands do you have on offer or available to you?
Yeah, we work with about 165 franchise companies, all investment levels, all industries. I partner with Franchoice, and Franchoice does a lot of pre-screening of companies. So there's, I think, we'll say over 4,000 franchise companies in the U.S., and Franchoice will pre-screen them and just look at, are the franchisees happy? Is there a system in place? Is the franchise growing? What's the support look like? And they'll do a pre-screen and decide if they want to work with that a specific company. So,
Well, and this is an important thing because in the book I wrote back in 2015, Franchise Warnings, I think one of the things I put in there is that, you know, 40 years ago, everyone wanted to be a McDonald's franchisee because they knew it was a path to success, and now everyone wants to be Ray Kroc. You said, there's 4,000 franchise systems. I mean, I've seen people open up one sample location or one test location and then go off and try to sell franchises right away. And unsuspecting people sometimes will get caught up in that. And I think maybe this is one of the points of value that someone like yourself offers.
Yeah. So, I mean, with franchising, with the large number to choose from, it gets overwhelming. So, the value we bring to the table are the right questions to be asking. And yes, a franchise needs a proof of concept, and that's what happens. As to your point, they open up one location successful, and then they want to franchise the model. But ultimately, the franchisor's responsibility is to make sure it works in all markets, or maybe certain markets or territories that are awarded, they may be a little bit larger because they'll say, okay, this is a service that's maybe where the affluent market, maybe it's a family making over $200,000 a year in total income. So instead of just saying, we'll award you the one county in New Jersey that I'm located in, they may award you 4 counties because they want to account for there's so many households that make over 200,000. So they'll look for that. Obviously, it's, I'm not saying a franchise is going to work in every market, but the franchisor needs to do a little bit of homework, geography. If it's a kids brand, they have to make sure there's kids in that market, right? Or they just say, okay, there's not many kids in this particular county, but let's bundle it with 2 or 3 others so you have a vast market to work with. So just because you have a good business model, you need to make sure that the demand is there. And as I mentioned with kids, if there's no kids, well, how are you gonna promote and sell your service? So the franchisor will assist with location and making sure that the territory is viable for your business.
Have you ever made the decision that you'll never sell a certain franchise again after you've seen someone go through the experience of being a franchisee with them?
Certain franchise, not necessarily. And I'll take a step back. When I work with someone, I don't have a franchise in mind, a product or service, and that's where people, I think, typically they start the wrong way, as I did in my search. To be full disclosure, I said, let me find a Subway available, and let me look at Subways back in 06, 07 when they were really hot. And I met with ironically, a franchise consultant, and that's because of that meeting is I also decided to become a consultant. I loved the service they had to offer, and we look at, okay, let's look at the business characteristics. What does your ideal business look like? The number of employees, the hours of operation, how much do you want to invest? Are you willing to relocate? And what's your territory? And the list goes on. What's the role of the that you want? Some people say, I have a great job and I want this as a side income. I don't care what industry or service, as long as it makes me money and I can run it semi-absentee, where I have a general manager in place and I check in on occasion. I can sign in on a website or a portal and check in on the business. Only after doing all that and creating what we call a franchise model, which essentially outlines what your ideal business looks like, then we start looking at franchises to really say, okay, these are businesses that can truly be run semi-absentee in your investment level, that are available in your territory. And this requires a lot of work. I need to contact the franchise company. Sometimes it's the president, it's the VP of franchise development to figure out, do you have the territory available? Is this person a good match? They want to invest X amount of time. So we do a lot of back end work for them. As far as franchise companies I wouldn't show or things like that, not really. It's always case by case. I match those 2 or 3 franchise companies specifically for that person. So it is customized. There are obviously industries that are thriving, and we talk about, during these times that are thriving, but if the vision is running the franchise for the next 20 years, it doesn't really matter what's hot. It's more about, what's sustainable and what model is really going to match, what you're looking for.
Have you ever had somebody move because they wanted a certain franchise and they wanted to move to an available territory?
Not personally, but yes, I work with other consultants and people have moved. Actually, I am working with a couple right now. No children. They're kind of, they're living in a place where they found their first jobs and are willing to move. So they kept it kind of open. So these are my, I would love to live in northern Florida or southern Florida. What do you, is there availability there? But yes, people have been extremely open to that.
Okay. So one of the things that I brought up in a video a few weeks ago when I was talking with someone else about franchises is the whole compensation package for people that are advisors in your role. So, people make an investment, they buy a franchise, they pay a franchise fee, the franchisor then in turn compensates you. So I just wanted to bring that up because I wanted to ask you, have you seen in your industry instances where people may have, put someone into the wrong thing because they needed to make a sale because they needed to earn some money? Yeah.
So to that, yes, we don't. So we're similar to an executive recruiter. Okay. You don't pay anything to. You place someone, they get compensated by the company that you're placing with. Same thing with us. We're compensated typically a percentage of the franchise fee. That's how we're compensated. So we don't charge we don't charge anything for our services. There's no contract. We get a percentage and we disclose that. In my book. It's in my video. I know there's been a lot of talk about that. But yes, we definitely help out, and our services are ongoing even after you invest in the franchise itself. As far as practices of consultants, at the end of the day, we are not in the sales business. We talk about franchise and we coach them through the process, and we make the intros to the franchise companies, and we coach them along the process. But ultimately, they're working directly with the franchise company to make that informed decision. We can only point them in the right direction, coach them through the process. But at the end of the day, they do have to do their research. And a big part of that, and the big secret, to be honest, it's one of the major advantages of franchising versus just a traditional business, is that it could be 10, 20, hundreds or even thousands of franchisees that you can contact to validate. So that's kind of the secret sauce in making your decision. So the decision is ultimately up to you. No one is telling you have to make that decision, but
so what you're saying basically, Giuseppe, is that you're not really a salesperson. You're more of a lead originator for a franchisor, and they are actually the ones who, make the sales presentation and negotiate with the individual.
Correct. So we coach through the whole process. We're doing a lot of the qualifications, making sure that they do have the right amount to invest, that they are a good fit for franchising and that particular franchise. So we work. That's why we work with the franchise companies to find real good, high quality candidates that would be a good fit for their brand. But yes, they do any negotiation, money, wiring. Do I sign on this contract? Can you send me information? It is all done directly from the franchise company.
Okay. You've got a palm tree there, and that reminds me of Florida. And one of my friends in this industry who lives in Florida, his name is Ted Leverett, and he once wrote in one of his books that franchising can be an indication of market saturation. So as a market matures and a lot more businesses are in that industry serving people, these franchise brands start to come in. How do you feel about that statement? Do you think there's any validity to that?
Well, first off, I have this background because I didn't get to go on vacation. So this is, This is it looks similar to one of the pictures. Not my picture. I can't take credit for it, but it reminds me of Hawaii on my honeymoon. Um, as far as market saturation, it's a tough one because with any market, there's going to be demand, obviously, right? So a franchise will look before starting a franchise. So you have people starting companies starting franchises, and then you have development companies which will kind of oversee and take over and assist a brand in growing and developing with their product or service. So the last thing they want is oversaturation, but more importantly, they want demand. They want to make sure that there's demand for the product. Some people I know have this notion, for example, mosquito spraying. I just had a conversation with a couple companies, and someone made the point where that market is oversaturated. This is a candidate I was working with. And I said, why do you say that? And he said, well, I see the vans all around. That was his research for telling me that it was oversaturated. And I said, well, speaking with these franchise companies, obviously they have to do their research, or speaking with candidates daily. 95% of homeowners in the U.S. do not get mosquito spraying. Yeah. And what are your thoughts on that? So just seeing, and then I even turned it around and said, well, how many people on your street get mosquito spraying? He goes, it's a good point. I think maybe one person, but I see the vans all over the place. So to your point, if there's demand, I mean, you don't want oversaturation to the point where everyone's kind of killing each other to get market share. But I will say, in franchising, in certain industries, there are some companies really standing out, and how they're standing out is they're essentially helping their franchisees to the point where I know one brand or one company in particular was working directly with landlords. They kind of converted their business to say, instead of bringing on, not that they weren't bringing on new franchises, but our focus is going to be on working with every single franchise in the system to differentiate ourselves, because obviously, this particular company, not to name names, was in health and fitness. So how do we get to the member at home and assist them with training? What additional services can we offer?
They were trying to help their franchisees navigate the whole COVID crisis.
Help with COVID, yeah. Help with landlord negotiation, help with customer retention, gift card sales. They did everything. Some have even taken it where they just froze royalty payments, where no royalty payments were needed until things picked up a little bit. So that's a benefit of franchising, but obviously it is the franchisor's job to do their research to make sure there's not so much saturation to the point where they just can't break into that market.
Giuseppe, do you keep any statistics on your own clients and how successful they are after they've gone through your process?
We statistics, not necessarily statistics, but we keep in touch with every single person that has invested in a franchise. Yes. So we make sure, number one, they're happy. If we always ask for a referral, because we spend a lot of time with all of our candidates. If they're looking to expand, we assist them in that process. What does it look like? Do you want to expand with the same brand? So looking at more territory. So for example, in Florida, we have someone looking to expand with additional territory, or do you want a company that another franchise that could complement your business? So if you're in the painting service, residential painting in one geographic area, do you want to upsell your clients and now offer a cleaning service as opposed to staying in the painting service and looking for a bigger geography? So,
I was just wondering if you had any idea of what percentage of your clients are still at it, after different mileposts down the road, like 3, 5, or however many years.
Yeah, no, they've from my understanding, they've all been doing well. All have looked at additional territories. I know many of them are happy financially. I don't get into that and what they're making, but I do get into, is this at the end of the day, with all said and being done, and we've talked a million times, do you have the lifestyle that you were looking for? So maybe you got into a painting service, which I know myself, I got into cleaning and building maintenance. Never thought I would get into that, but has it provided you the lifestyle? Has it given you the additional time? Was it worth it at the end? And all have come back and said, yes, it has. The first year is always that building year and figuring it all out. But after getting past the first year, yeah, they've all come back and said they've been very happy.
Well, I mean, one of the key takeaways from my book, Franchise Warnings, is I tell readers, one of the things you have to look at is what money will you end up paying to the franchisor over the course of your career as the owner of that location? But more importantly, what do you get for the money? Because in my mind, a franchisor adds value when they're doing certain head office functions that a little independent business could never pull off on their own. And the best example maybe from food services, restaurants, where if you've got these, seasonal specials and, new products that come for a limited time and all that kind of stuff. Well, there's someone at head office in marketing and there's someone at head office in product development who they're spending their time working on these things so that they can, do these special launches, special products. A certain time of year here where I live, there's the McLobster sandwich at McDonald's, things like that. And I think that's really important because when I used to own a franchised business brokerage office, I had a fee I had to pay every month for technical services. And if I added up all the things it gave me, and if I tried to buy all that stuff as an independent business, it would have cost me more.
Right.
So I actually saved money by being part of the franchise network because they had made these bulk arrangements with different suppliers, online portals for businesses for sale, and an amazing CRM system that tied it all together. If I had tried to do it all on my own, I would have spent more money. So to me, that was a no question great opportunity because I got all the support and ongoing help from head office, as well as access to all those tools for cheaper than it would have been normally. So it was a great deal. And is that something that you spend time looking at before you recommend a franchise?
Yeah, I mean, and that's part of the franchise pre-screen as well, as they're going through it and talking and making sure there's support available. So that's the biggest thing of owning a franchise. It's that, the startup, that's almost the easy part, right? Okay, I know I'm going to pay a franchise fee versus a standalone business. You don't have a franchise fee, but you have sweat equity, time. It may take you 3 years. What is your time worth versus, paying the franchise fee and having that business in a box? But to your point, every franchise is not built the same. In your validation, when speaking, and I speak directly with the franchise companies. We speak weekly. We have a 2-time-a-year national conferences where the CEOs, presidents, everyone kind of comes down. We ask the same questions. What are you truly offering? But yes, we make sure that they're offering ongoing service, not just past the first, not just the first year getting set up, but if I have issues, what's the royalty? Some have, we talk about, to your point, economies of scale, where it's a painting franchise. They get maybe paint 20 to 40% cheaper. I'm just giving an estimate versus just any other painting company going in because they have national agreements. They have vendors in place. And not only do they have vendors in place, they have a network of subcontractors in place working with companies, some of the major painting players. But the biggest thing is, after the franchise fee and that royalty, whatever it is, don't just say, well, this one has a 5%, that one has a 10. Let me go with the 5. That is probably the worst decision you can make. You need to figure out what are you getting with that. So is it if the training is really just not there, maybe it's not worth getting into into that particular franchise. You want to make sure that if you have a question, the franchisor is available to ask those questions. You're getting discounts on products. Yeah.
Because some of those royalties, in some instances that I've seen, some of those royalties actually include certain outsourced business functions like centralized call centers and stuff like this.
Yes, right. So they'll have maybe a higher royalty fee, but they'll bundle in the call center, which is in-house. Think about, how much it would cost just to have one person. They're available 24 hours a day, one person just working 9 to 5 and what that would cost you. So sometimes they bundle it all together. So it's part of their item 7 in the franchise disclosure document. It'll list, your investment, all the expenses, what the royalty is. Sometimes it's a percentage. Sometimes it's a percentage with a minimum per month. But, just step back and say, okay, if they're providing a call center, I don't need to have these people in-house. I may not even need an office now because, they're providing all that. So look at what they give you and talk to the franchisees to make sure that they're offering the support that the franchise development person is talking about. So and don't talk to the 1-year rookies. Talk to the guys that have been doing it 3 to 5 years, and just say, okay, you're year 3, you're year 5. Are you still getting support? When you have issues, is someone that readily available to ask those questions? So royalty, yes, it's sometimes difficult to make a 5%, 10%, whatever the royalty is every single month. But if you're getting that support, that, you don't have to worry about the call center, you don't have to worry about training, or if you're having technical issues and they're there to assist with you, that is completely worth it. But going back to, our conversations, to your book, some franchise companies will charge the same rate and the service, the support will be subpar. And you will find that out very quickly in your first couple validation calls to existing franchisees.
Awesome. So one final question then before we let you go, Giuseppe, is we're in September 2020 right now as we record this. So we've now been involved with this pandemic for 6 months. What are you seeing in your business? Are you seeing a lot of these unemployed people who are looking at franchises as an opportunity to create an income? Are you seeing people afraid to act? Are you seeing people delay? Like what's going on from your vantage point?
What I'm seeing is we are busier than ever, in that we're getting a lot of interest in people asking about owning a business. Doesn't always mean it's the right fit. It's just we've been extremely busy with people that have lost their job or may lose their jobs, kind of saying, I've thought about this in the past. Let me really, let me start researching it. And so we go through the process. So, extremely busy. We get the questions all the time. The $1 million question: what are the hot franchises? I tell them to buy a copy of Entrepreneur Magazine, because that's all it's worth, and it's going to change every single month. It's kind of people say, you actually, say that to people. And I said, yes, I was in the investment world. What's the hot mutual fund? Buy Money Magazine. It changes every month. I could care less. It really doesn't make a difference, because what are you looking to accomplish? What's your vision? If it's a Subway, which is not a knock against Subway, and that business model doesn't match what you're looking for, who cares that it's the hottest franchise? You won't do well. And if you do well, you're going to be miserable doing it. So let's take a step back and figuring out. I mean, there are businesses like, B2B coaching businesses doing well because they're helping struggling small businesses stay afloat. But if you're not a go-getter and a networker and really love to, talk to small business owners all day long, you won't be successful. Whereas someone that has those traits will do really well. So really busy, really talking about the benefits of franchising, but talking, referring people to headhunters or maybe recruiters and assisting with maybe their LinkedIn profiles. I've been doing a lot of that. Whereas maybe I tell them, maybe you should look at employment, and maybe business ownership isn't in the cards, or, you're excited, you've been laid off. You don't, the grass isn't always greener. Let's really take a step back to make sure this is a right fit. And there's some questions I leave to them to really reflect and think about it for a while.
Well, I actually believe that fast growing or hot franchise names are a reason to be cautious. I go on at length about it in my book, Franchise Warnings, available on Amazon. I guess I should plug it. It's my show, right? So, but I want to thank you, Giuseppe. And if people want to reach you online and talk with you, what's the easiest way for them to find you?
Absolutely. So you can go right to the website. It's GG, because Giuseppe Grammatico is very difficult to say. It's GG, the franchise guide. So it's GUIDE.com. So GGthefranchiseguide.com. You can book a call with me. For your audience today, you can even download. I'll do a little plug as well. If they want a free copy, a free download of my book, go to my website /DCB for anyone listening in on the show. So DCB, David Charles Boy. Get in on
it's short
there.
for David.
I'm so used. You're right. I'm so used to saying that. Right. I don't know why I went there, so I apologize. But it's just out of habit, I guess. But if you go there, you get a free copy of the book. As I mentioned, our services are free, so hit the contact or book a call. Send me some information. We schedule a 20-minute call with everyone. And if you just even had a general question, thought about franchising, let us know. If we can assist you, I can definitely point you in the right direction.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Giuseppe, and I'll wish you the best of luck here in the fall as you carry on dealing with COVID there in New Jersey, and we'll hope that you and your family stay safe.
Same to you, David. I appreciate it. Thank you again.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.